Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Shualegra, and I'm interviewing some of my good friends who are also authors. Many of them, if not most of them, I've had the privilege to collaborate with them, whether in the book that I was leading or their own book that I got to publish. So today is no different. I have Suhil with me, and I'll give her a chance to just let us know who you are and what you do.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sohail Fernandez. I'm from Shirley, New York. And first of all, I'm a mom for two amazing children. And I'm also a licensed veterinary technician. I'm working in the laboratory field of the veterinary, in the laboratory area of the veterinary field. And I am also pursuing my nursing degree and have always been a passionate writer.
Yeah. So you have a busy life. I mean, being a mom, it's a full-time job in itself. And then you are pursuing, a nursing degree and you're working. So like, tell
Yeah.
us, how did you even get into writing? Like what, and also how do you make time for writing?
Oh my God. It's a great accomplishment. This book is, I am so happy to collaborate within it. November was like, I mean, last year was a very tough year for all of us. It was very tough for myself, and it ended so well. November was amazing, and so what I did, my one of my best friends, Karina, sent me the link. I had 3 weeks to come up with it. I don't know how I did it with school and homeschooling as well, my kids
Yeah,
and
yeah.
working. But I think like when things are just meant to happen, they do, and you find the way when you really want something. The way that I started writing, I don't know, I always expressed myself better on paper. I always say my words speak louder on paper. That's my thing. And I've always been kind of like the quiet type. I wouldn't say I'm shy, but I would just express myself better on paper. So whenever I had to say something to someone, I would usually write it instead of, speak it. And I do when it's, one on one and we're talking, I'm fine. I
Mhm.
enjoy having conversations, with everybody. But when it comes down to expressing myself, I always tend to forget something. So I used to write it. And I don't know. I started writing poetry. It just came to me just a few years ago, started. And, from there, one of my friends read it and, he suggested, you should just post it on Instagram.
Mhm, mhm.
And I was very intimidated, but I did. And I found like there was a great writers community there. So they gave me great tips and it just took off from there little by little. So I fell in love with it the more I
Yeah,
did it. So that's how it started, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. And you are a beautiful writer. And for those of you who maybe don't know the background, the book that she's referring to is I Quit, that was released, oh goodness, about 2 weeks ago from the day time we're recording this. It was January 2nd of 2021. And I Quit is a collaboration of stories and strategies to help you let go of what no longer serves you. So Suhia has a beautiful chapter in there and shares her own personal story and how, she overcame some things. I'm not going to give you too many details here because I want you to go get the book and read it for yourself. And there's
Yeah.
17 of us in that collaboration. And it's just like one story after another really helps you to kind of, ditch like literally what no longer serves you and then embrace your authentic self so that you can live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah.
And then with your poetry, I cannot wait to put my fingers on there. I know we've been talking about that a little bit already, and we'll touch base again later. But it's such an honor to have you as part of the Aquit group, and also to collaborate with you in other projects coming forward here. So when you do write, how do you get into the flow? Whether it's poetry or it's a chapter like in I Quit, what helps you kind of zone in and find inspiration and get actually to the act of writing.
Everything comes within. It's just like all emotions that I have within. It's all like I just sit down and I start just feeling, whatever's inside, and it just flows, it just flows on. I do also get inspired by just like everyday life, sometimes something will just spark,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
my kids inspire me a lot, there was a time my son and I, when he was like 5, we were just waiting for his school bus, and it was raining, and as he held my hand, he said, what color is the rain, Mom? And that just like sparked
Mm,
something in me, you know, and that became a poem. So little things
love
like
it.
that. I also get inspired by art. I do go through a lot of Pinterest,
Mm-hmm.
drawings and paintings, and words just flow. And
Love it.
that's how I get it. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. It sounds to me like you're not just a visual learner, but a visual processor. Like you process through, images and you get to see it and
Yes,
yeah.
I use all my senses. So like just the rain and the smell, and
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
I just I have so many emotions, and I'm so passionate with pretty much everything. I don't know. I use all my senses for it all.
Love it, love it. And I think that's a good tip too for all of us authors. It's like embrace who you are in your writing process,
Yeah.
and whichever way that you learn or process emotion, process information, use it all because then the end product is just more beautiful. It's more so beautiful because it's like it's so pure, so
Yes.
genuine. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. So what since we're still talking about some tips already, what are maybe other tips that you have for new authors and new writers?
I think that, just believe in yourself because everybody's different. Every writer is different, has a different
Mhm,
style. It's just like every person is their own individual person. We don't, we have our own name, and
mhm,
it's just the
mhm,
same way. Everybody has their own style. So don't be intimidated or compare yourself to anybody because you don't want to do that anyway. You want to be
mhm,
unique.
mhm,
You want to be your own person. You want to stay true and write what you feel. Don't just think about, oh, how is this going to sound? Just write it down, let it
mhm,
flow. You can always go back and revise. But that would be my number one tip is just don't compare yourself and, just write what you feel and what you want.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so true. So true. Because no matter what you're doing, there's always someone who's better than you, someone who's little, not as good as you are. So, but it's staying in your lane, knowing what you bring to the table. It's really, really important. I remember when I started in this field, and someone else told me that I was writing a book on stress relief, which is called the Stress Relief Method, and I'm like, there's so many books on stress, like already, like, but it's like, what's one more book, right? And this was, a few years back. And my writing coach back then told me, it's like, well, if you go to the store, go for the bread aisle, like, especially here in the United States, like, or, the Western part of the world, go for a grocery store, go for the bread aisle. And I want you to just look at how many types of breads are there on the shelf.
Uh, that is a great,
And that,
great
and I
advice.
kid you not, it's been so many years. Every time I go to the grocery store, not maybe not every time, but every time I need to buy bread for my family, I just stand there and look at it, and just and her question comes back to mind. People are still buying bread. Even if you, let's say you're looking for whole wheat bread, this is what usually my family eats, and we get gluten free for my younger son. It's like you look, stand there. There's so many options of whole wheat bread,
No,
so
it's
different brands, and sometimes it's within the same brand. There's different marks, if different types. If you want a whole wheat bread, it's the same brand, but different types of the bread that you want, and people are still buying it. The bread
mhm,
shelf is still stocked up in grocery stores,
always,
right?
always, and we crave it.
Because exactly, because people as human beings, we like, as much as maybe we might say like, oh, we don't like change, but there's too many choices. We like the variety. We like to have different diversity, in
Yeah,
different in everything.
and everything.
So the way that you bring a story to life is not the way someone else will bring the story to life.
No, not
you
at
know
all.
so when I wrote my stress relief method, I shared my own personal story of how stress impacted my life and led to a stroke at 33. And then from there I start sharing. I have like this framework that I've worked with my own clients about how to create a life with less stress. And so I work them. It's very methodical. It's like work with each step of the framework, if you want. But with each step of the framework, there's a story of how I use that framework, how others use it, and there's resources, whether it's a worksheet or a link, and it's gonna really it presents the whole stress management, if you want, theory in a whole different level, right? So
Of
I could have
course.
stayed there, like so many there's too many books about stress, but the way I approach it is totally different. And you
Hmm.
can be sharing the exact same story. You can go for the exact same thing. Let's say, some kind of trauma, grief even. But the way that you experience it is different. The way you're going to put it in paper is different. You can be looking at the exact same sky, but the way you're going to describe it and someone's describes it is totally different. So yeah, never, never, ever, ever judge yourself, because what you have, there are people who need exactly that in the way that you deliver it. There's no two people on earth that can speak and write the way you do and that can share, even if it's the same topic. So I just thought I will share that, because a lot of times that's what I do with my clients. Go ahead.
I love that. And now when I go to the supermarket and I see the bread, I'm going to think about that. You know, it's perfect. It's a great analogy. It's, you know, it is just that, you know, it's just, you're not like anybody else, you know? So same way, whatever you do shouldn't be like anybody else. You cannot compare yourself.
Yes. So what are some writing projects that you're working on right now? I know you have your poetry book that you're writing, or anything else that's in the works that we should be aware of.
So hopefully I'll continue working with you, because it's been an honor and it's been great. So I do have so many poems, and I think I can make like 2 books out of them, you know, so I would love to have those. My dream has always been to have them in a book, my own book, and have them published. And then I have a project that's like near and dear to my heart. I'm still working on it, but it's my first novel. I started, and it's based on my parents and their life, you know, because I always say their love story is my favorite. And unfortunately, my dad passed almost 10 years ago. And you know, what also inspired me to write, ever since I was a little girl, I enjoy the storytelling. So I love listening to my loved ones tell stories. So ever since I was little, I would listen to my uncles and my mom and my dad. And my dad, I would always ask him questions, and how were you when you were a kid, you know? And his story is unbelievable, and so is my mom's. So I decided to go ahead and write their story as a novel, and that's what I'm working on.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Awesome. So is there something that you know now, like since you've been writing, is there something that you know now that you wish you knew back then when you first started?
It would probably be that. I mean, I never compared myself to anybody, but I would say I was very intimidated in the beginning to start, because I felt that I wasn't good enough, you know, meaning like people were going to judge me. I believed in my writing, but I just, you know, English is not my first language. I did not know English till I was about 5 or 6. So it was always intimidating, you know, thinking like, am I saying this correctly? Am I writing this the right way? You know, so little by little, the more I wrote, the more you know, I believed in myself and in my writing. So I would say, and then just put it out there. So, you know, don't hold whatever you write and keep it to yourself. Like I'm sure people have books and books of writings and they just don't dare share it, because you never know who you're going to touch, you know, you never know who you're going to help. Your words will mean the world to somebody, you know, at the moment that they're going through something. So my advice would be, believe in yourself and share it, because the world needs to read those words, you know, you just never know. One person may make a big difference. So that's my advice.
Well said. Well said. Definitely. Don't keep it to yourself. And people don't realize how much internal work how it goes through, you know, that people go through as they start writing. Like we're taking the writing seriously. A lot of the coaching work that I do with author is not just the writing process and then helping them publish, you know, and Grissom Consulting, my company publishes the book, but it's a lot of like internal work. That's personal development piece, you know, of not comparing yourself, of self-doubt, you know, procrastination, time management, you know, imposter syndrome, all those things that we don't realize that we need to grow in the inside in order to share our gifts with others. And so many of my, you know, my clients are just like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I needed you more than just with the writing. And, you know, and like you, English is not my first language, you know, my first language is French. And it's so easy to say like, oh, I don't have what it takes. I don't see it like, I don't see it like anybody else. I say, just write, like just write, you know, because afterward, there's nobody can tell your story the way you share it. And then everything else, you can find anybody else to do it. You know, like the editing, the formatting, the, you know, marketing and all the publishing, all the stuff that we do here. But your story, whether you're writing it or dictating it for, you know, for someone to type later, it's like, it's your story. Nobody can describe it as well as you do. And I know
Yeah.
some people hire ghostwriters and all of that. I personally don't. I know people do that, but you still have to tell your story. People need to be able to capture your story from your lens, if you want, in order for them to do it justice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the thing that always helped me, you know, thinking like, oh my gosh, I have 3 weeks to do the I Quit book and collaborate in it. And I
yeah.
thought, you know, like, oh, thank God for editing, because that definitely helped me, you know, feel more confident about it.
It's definitely a team effort, yeah. And a lot of the authors that I've worked with, this is how they started. It's like they always wanted to write, dreamed of writing, and the thing that actually propelled them in the writing career was doing a collaboration project with us.
Oh
Because
my
then you're
gosh.
only responsible for one chapter. You can
Right.
focus on that, and we take care of the rest. You know,
Yeah.
you just write, you give us the story, we'll do the rest with it. And then with your approval, of course, like you did with us when we did the editing, we'll send it back to you for review and
Yeah.
approve all the changes and stuff. But that's how many people get started. And then it's like, oh, I can do a chapter. Then
Yeah.
I want to do a second chapter. And then, no, like you said, then people want to, like, I want to do my own book. I can do
Yeah.
this now. Because often we wait for confidence in order to do something. Like, I don't feel confident enough. I don't have what it takes. So I'm waiting to have whatever it is that we think we need in order to do something. And we don't realize that whether it's motivation or confidence, it happens and comes by doing. Because the more
Yeah.
you do, the more you feel confident to do, the more you learn how to do. So just get
Exactly.
started. Yeah, just
I
get
learned
started.
that. I learned that just recently, because by doing it, I was doing so much, you know, but I was progressing and I was accomplishing, you know, my goals, and it was good, and I got great feedback. So the more you do things, the more, you know, you put it out there, the better you'll feel and more confident. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here with me and doing this. You and I can talk forever.
I
I know
know.
for those of you listening and watching, I say this all the time because I get to work with some amazing people, people that I literally want to sit down and just chat for, endless
We
time
definitely
here.
have to.
But for the sake of time, like, where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram. I have my main one is La Morena 930, which is LA underscore Morena 930. That's my personal one, but that's where I usually am the most. I also have another one, SF Poetry 79 in Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Suhail Fernandez, and I'm also on Twitter, Suhail 930. So yes.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that we add those in the description of the interview here so people can just click and follow you there.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh,
And
it's my pleasure.
I can't wait to work on you and your poetry book and other
Oh,
collaboration that's coming up this year.
definitely. And it's been an honor. Thank you so much for allowing me to collaborate. It's a dream come true, you know, first time being published. So I appreciate it.
My honor, my honor. Thanks.
Thank you.